What's going on, my eaters? It's your boy Chef Drew, aka Chef, aka Big Drew, aka today we are talking marketing and branding, guys. I am so excited to bring this episode to you guys. As I have endeavored in my entrepreneurial journey, there's certain things that have just become increasingly more important along the way, or I have learned to see the value in it more and more. And today I want to discuss one of those things with you. I'm super excited about it to have our guest with us. We have not had a guest in a minute, but today we have the guest for you. We're going to talk about marketing and branding. But before we do that, please make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things so we can continue to bring you this great content. Y'all, so I said we're going to talk about marketing. I'm super psyched. Today, we have my friend, my homie, my boss lady in some ways now, Nancy Tao. She owns Tao Communications, a marketing PR firm here in Atlanta, south side of Atlanta. Nancy, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, by the way.
Thank you for being had.
Yes. Well, I'm so excited.
So, Nancy, y'all listen, this is why you got to talk to people. This is why you got to walk around with your head up. You know what I mean? You got to have some pep in your step. You got to be ready to catch fish, lights on, makeup did, hair did, all the time, because you never know who's going to come across your path and how they can impact your life or what have you. I met Nancy probably it's more than a year, maybe almost 2 years ago. Glenn and I were having a day date. We were out eating lunch, and then we stopped at a co-working space to check it out that we were thinking about becoming a part of to house our business for a little bit. When we left this place, we just minding our business, going back to the car. I was kind of annoyed. I remember, you don't even know this, Nancy. I don't like gravel parking lots. For some reason, in a gravel parking lot, I feel like my big behind always rolls my ankle or something. In that particular day, I had just rolled my ankle, and then I see this lady looking at my baby, and I'm like, y'all, let me tell y'all something about Drew. My baby's is precious and cute, and if I catch you looking at my babies too long, I'm gonna say something to you, because I feel like you owe me for that. So I saw Nancy admiring Ruby, and next thing you know, Ruby had to stir up a conversation. And through that conversation, I was like, yo, what's this lady doing here at this working space? And so I asked her what she did. She told me what she did, and we spoke a few times. She really blessed me a couple times after that, some conversations. And then in the last few months, my business has finally gotten to a place where I could talk to Nancy about, one, I could talk to her about business, for real. And two, like I said, when we first met, Nancy and I talked a little bit, and pretty much at the end of our conversation, Nancy said, you ain't ready for me yet. So I went back to the drawing board and I tried to get ready for Nancy. You know what I'm saying? And then a couple months ago, I called you, Nancy, and you asked me what I was doing and so on and so forth. And then you told me, okay, it seems like you're ready now. And so then I was like, you know what, Nancy, you're pretty dope. You want to come on my channel? And she is here. Nancy, tell the folks just a little bit about Nancy Tao. Tell us about your background, where you're from, not professional, just you personally.
Oh, just me personally. Okay, so I'm originally from St. Louis, go Cardinals. And I, wow, how do I tell my own story? I can tell everybody else's story, but I have a really hard time telling my own story.
Let me help you. From St. Louis, what do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing, you just work?
No, honestly, I really don't. So I would say that, well, I'm a mom.
Okay.
So my 18-year-old son is my love of my life and my full-time, overtime hobby. You heard me on the phone talking to him shortly before we started recording. So I'm a mom. And then the other thing I do really love is travel. And
Me too.
we have that in common.
Yes.
We haven't traveled yet. But
Not
we
yet,
are
but we
going
will.
We will.
We lining it up
We
right
need
now
to
as
road
we
trip.
speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go to Savannah soon,
Soon.
right? Soon.
Yep.
And then, yeah, family and travel are my two things that I do in my free time. But
Me too.
but yeah, no, I'm a Midwest girl at heart. Born in Illinois, grew up in St. Louis, and I moved here a long time ago. I've been in Atlanta for 30 years.
Wow.
Is that crazy? So I moved here in 1993 to work for the 1996 Olympics. Summer Olympics in Atlanta.
That's pretty dope.
And this summer, Paris is hosting. So,
wow.
Yep, it's been 30 years since it's been a little over 25 since the Olympics were here. But so I've been in Atlanta for 30 years, which is crazy.
Do you love it here?
I do. I do love it. And I think I really respect this city. I really appreciate Atlanta.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. It is, it is really the heart of a lot of things. And it is the home of the entrepreneur. So I'm grateful for that.
It definitely is. You know, a lot of times when I'm navigating the city now, just around, out and about, one of the things that comes to mind for me and Gwen have been here since we moved to Atlanta in the fall of 2006. And so one of the things that blows my mind is I just know what I've experienced, the growth since I've been here.
Crazy.
I can't imagine what this place was like even before that. Because coming from Miami in 2006, I gotta say, you know, outside of Atlanta, you just kept on hearing like, Atlanta, the city is popping, it's popping. And I moved here and I'm like, where's the city?
I have a question for you. How old were you in 1993 when I moved here?
In 1993, when you moved here? I was a wee lad.
I was your babysitter. I was Chef's babysitter.
I was 93.
Yes, I moved here in 1993.
In 1993, I was proudly 12 years old.
See?
But that's irrelevant. We here today. Okay, so you like to travel, family.
Yes.
Food.
Oh, food.
And
Well, you know,
food.
Obviously I'm Asian. If you didn't, did I miss that
Did y'all
part?
figure that out?
So, you know, it's true.
So food.
It's true. We love to eat. Asians love, because it's, you know, we're a lot about family, like I like everyone.
And community.
Like a lot of people in community.
Yeah.
So we love to eat. So food is a huge.
It sounds like my own house.
Huge. We all cook. I love to cook. I also do love to cook.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay,
I
good.
cook a
I
lot.
always love when people like to cook.
I cook a lot.
Cool.
Don't ask me what I cook, but I cook.
I'm not going to ask you what you cook. She has a nice kitchen. I just saw it, so I'm glad she's
dirty.
cooking in
It's a dirty. When you have a dirty kitchen, that means you cook.
Right. So we'll get back to the Olympics later.
Yes.
Do you come from a family of entrepreneurs? Is entrepreneurship in your vein, or is this a road you decided that you needed to travel?
It is. It is. So my, and I thought about that actually, because I know you're third generation entrepreneur. So the great thing about the fact that we've started working together is I've learned a lot about you.
Oh yeah.
Which I love, which is why I love what I do, because I just love to learn. Everyone has such a great story.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are.
Right.
So my father, I don't know if I'm necessarily three generations in, but my father is an architect, retired architect. So that's where I think I get my creative side. And he eventually had his own firm. He retired with his own firm. So
dope.
And then my grandparents on my mother. So I'm on my father's side. It's from China, from Shanghai, China. So I'm actually half Japanese. I'm American born. And then my mom's family. My mom's actually Japanese.
Okay.
So yeah, which is so I always say that I'm a rare breed. I'm a rare mixed breed.
I don't think I've heard that much.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you don't, right? Because
if you study the history, they don't really get along.
Right.
So, so my parents actually had to elope.
Did they?
Yeah, it's not a secret.
Yeah.
Because my mom's family, very traditional Japanese. My mom's actually American born, but when she started kindergarten, she couldn't speak any English. So they lived on the south side of Chicago. Okay. In Obama's hometown.
Yeah.
And actually so the Japanese side of my family, my grandparents owned a laundromat.
Okay.
Yeah. They fulfilled that Asian stereotype.
That cash business.
They had a laundromat, a dry cleaning, and my grandmother was the seamstress, and
Really?
They got held up a lot of times. My grandmother loved to tell all the stories about, but they kept at it. So yeah, they had their own dry cleaners, seamstress. I just thought of that.
I want to touch on this. So I'm a 3rd generation entrepreneur. Nancy is like 3 or 4 in. You got 7 generations of entrepreneurship sitting here. And one of the things that just stood out to me as Nancy was talking, and I know this is true for my background, is that a lot of entrepreneurship, it definitely is generational, and it comes almost out of just necessity. I don't think people talk about that enough. Is like a lot of times people, especially like from our backgrounds, who are coming from other countries, they've come to this country, they're remaking a life for themselves, and literally, they just have to make it happen. And then next thing you know, you get to have wonderful testimonies like me and Nancy. Like, I'm proud to say that my grandfather did it, and my mom and my dad did it, and now I'm doing it too. So listen, if you have to make it happen for yourself, generations of people have been doing it, you can do it too, just saying. Talk to me, Nancy, talk to the folks a little bit about grit. And just what that, when I say grit to you as far as entrepreneurship and your entrepreneurial endeavors, talk a little bit about that, because everyone ain't got it.
Well, that's a good point, because every week I want to go get a real job.
Right, throw the towel in.
Yeah, I have those moments almost every week.
And how long have you had your business for yourself?
I can't do this anymore. So I would say, I've been in Atlanta for 30 years. I'd say half of that.
So for at least 15 years, you've been doing this thing, and you're saying even still today, you have those moments when you're like, I'm gonna go work for somebody.
Yeah.
But then what?
Then I sober up.
All right.
I like to be my own boss. I like to be the boss, as you know.
Yeah.
I like to be my own boss. No, I think there's a lot. I don't think I have one. There's not one answer, at least for me. There's not one reason. But I do like. I like the fact that I have grit. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that, so to me, grit is, being able just to dig in. I can somehow just dig in, and I think about it like climbing a mountain. Somehow I always have another step to step up on. To get to that next place. Somehow it's there, right?
Yep.
Even though when I doubt myself, which is, pretty common.
Right.
Pretty often, but I love knowing that there's that next step.
Right.
And it pushes me.
Yeah.
And I need to be pushed.
Yeah.
And I need to be motivated.
Right.
I mean, I've been at this now for a long time, my career.
Yeah.
So 30 years is a long time, right?
Absolutely.
Because when I moved to Atlanta, that was really I came here for my second job. Okay. So I pretty much have been at it for 30 years. So that's a long road.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near.
We ain't done.
We're not done.
You just got me, girl, and I know I ain't done, so you ain't done either.
But I would say you have to want it.
Yeah.
Just like anything in life, right? But I think I always say it just takes a leap of faith. You just have to just step out the door. Yeah. And once you're out there, if that's truly where you should be, you'll stay there.
I'm gonna say, I feel like, honestly, this is just me. Don't eat me up, nobody. I don't think everyone has grit. I think some people have it, some people don't. In some rare occasions, you can learn it or adapt to it just by being in its circumference. Is that grit comes from really when your business, when the situation and circumstances rub. And not just rub, but rub in an upward way or rub in kind of a way that just makes things a little difficult. And why I say everybody doesn't have it is because in those moments when the whole world gets knocked out from underneath of you, I know you've had these moments in your professional career where it seems like things are going great or everything's working out or everything's lining up, and then the whole house gets knocked over. And you look at that rubble. This is grit. When you look at that rubble and you say, well, you know what? There's a dude over there with a backhoe and a tractor and marketing people and a nice new truck and a big salary. I'm gonna go help him build houses. But the person who has grit says, nah, that was my house. And so even though I'm ticked off right now, and even though I don't want to, I'm gonna rebuild that house. Yeah. And I feel like, Nancy, I see that in you. I know I got it. Not to pat myself on the back, but that's why I wanted to ask you about grit, because everyone does not have that fire. A lot of people quit and quit early. Yeah. So,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't have it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that point up.
It's not,
That's not a slight on anybody who doesn't necessarily.
Some days I wish I didn't have grit.
Yeah, me too. I wish I didn't have grit every day. Okay. But my daddy had grit, and so did my grandpa. And I guess I got it now too. And hopefully my children will have it as well.
And you know what? The funny thing is, I probably in the last 10 years, and I think especially since COVID, because, you know, everyone's done the pivot and all of that. I hate to use all these COVID words, but it's true. So I think a lot of people, a lot of businesses, a lot of business owners have pivoted and have kind of done their own thing.
Right.
And gone to taken that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're doing what they really are passionate about.
Right.
And since that time, I feel like I represent more and more of those people of grit. Yeah. And they're small business owners. Yeah. They're solopreneurs. They're people who have left all different kinds of things to start crazy businesses. I have this amazing client woman who started her own pancake mix. Yep. 3-in-1 pancake mix. Yep. Before that, she was a pharmaceutical salesperson. Really? I mean, pharmaceutical sales to pancake mix. To pancake creator, mix. Founder, award-winning. Wow. But she's always loved to cook from the time she was young.
What's her brand? What's it called?
Barlow's.
Barlow's.
3-in-1 pancake.
3-in-1
pancake mix. Pancake mix.
That's her client's work. That's Nancy's work. Barlow's 3-in-1 pancake mix. Not a shameless plug, just a plug. Just a plug.
But honestly, so I have represented more and more, I'm just going to say people of grit. Yeah. Who have done amazing, including you. Appreciate it. Amazing stories. And, you know, every day you got to get up and do it, right? Absolutely. Every day, whether you want to or not. Okay. And people do that anyway. People who work for someone else, you still do that. Right. But yeah, but you know, you got to make it all happen, right? So, right. People of grit are definitely those people who are going to bet on themselves. Right. You know, and I'm just an individual where if you make me put a wager up, I'm always going to bet on me. Sometimes I mess up, but I'm still going to bet on me. I'm going to clean the mess up and do it again. That's just me. When I do a little bit of Googling and searching on you, I see some big brand names associated with your work. I know the Atlanta Committee for Olympics is you, Coca-Cola, NBC, Nike. These are some big names. Whether we're talking about those big names, and I drop those names, y'all, to let y'all know we ain't playing around here. Nancy is doing her thing in her field of interest. Her resume is like that. So you just need to know the quality of people I'm trying to put in front of you. But whether it's those big brands or solopreneurs, grassroots entrepreneurs like me, just the importance and value of choosing the story, figuring out what your story is, and then conveying said story to the masses. Right. I think a lot of people fail in that area. What has been your experience as I say some of that stuff? Yeah, no, I think it's just, you know, I would say I'm a big proponent of having a plan. Always have a plan, right? And I would say that to people who want to go out on their own. You can definitely do it. Again, it takes that leap of faith, but you have to have a plan. Okay. And that plan can change, right? So I think the same thing with business owners. You definitely need a marketing plan, you know, a branding plan, a PR plan, you know, and a communications plan. And yes, they all can live on that same one. It doesn't have to be complicated either. Right. Stay on that one same piece of paper, right? And I think we're figuring that out. It's not that complicated.
No.
But it's a discipline.
It is.
And you do have to, that's why we talk every week.
Yep.
You have to commit time to it. You have to commit some type of budget to it, right? And then you're good to go. So it's something that is often overlooked or it's not prioritized.
Right.
Because, and I get it, because it takes a lot to start a company and to launch a brand.
Yep. But
to launch you can do all the work behind the scenes, get your logo, get your space, and hire your people, do all that. But unless you market and PR and brand yourself, no one's coming through the front door.
Right.
No one's coming to check you, check out online. So
that's true.
So it's important.
Yeah. I think for me personally,
it's a priority.
I think for me personally, what got me and you sitting at the table this time is just me evaluating and looking at my business, looking at where I wanted to go, looking at where I was and where I've come from. And y'all, I just had a moment of realization for me personally. I was like, you know what? I'm doing all the things right. I'm putting my business out there. A lot of the branding is great. I know I got the stories. The logo is great. It's scalable. It's sellable. All of that. But where I was failing was putting my brand in front of enough people. And not even just enough people, but the right people.
Yeah.
And so I called you. And that's one of the things that, to me, has stood out since starting to work together is you forcing me to consider all of those things simultaneously, and not just that, but knowing what's for me and not for me.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I noticed, Nancy, you come across very nice and sweet and approachable and all of that stuff.
He's getting to something. What are you getting to? ...
but.
Something's happening.
But I have experienced and I have seen, and I don't have a problem with it because this is me too.
Right.
You also don't have a problem saying what needs to be said, even if it may not be the popular opinion, even if it might cause a little bit of discomfort or friction. I know for me, when you take like those, like in my work career, I've taken like several of those like management personality tests and whatnot. Right. And one of the things that says my strengths always is, which is also a thing that makes me the most uncomfortable, it always says that I'm very, very good at having the hard conversation, which is weird because usually I don't want to be in no hard conversations. However, I'm just good at it. How would you say you have gotten good at being you, being nice, professional, personable, and all that, but also, I can speak from my own experience, you don't have a problem being very direct or telling people what needs to be said, even if they may not like it. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, that's my job. That's my responsibility. I'm just going to use you as an example since we work together.
Yep.
So that's my responsibility to you as a business owner. Because what I'm doing is helping you be forward-facing to your key audiences.
Right.
Whether that's business partners, investors, consumers, partners, any of your audiences, right? And then we've worked together to prioritize who those audiences are.
Right.
And then we're also building on, a plan. Right, to get there. That's why I always say it's a journey.
Yep, it's a journey.
Right? But we're doing it all simultaneously, like you said.
Yeah. Awesome.
There's a lot of multitasking going on, but yeah. So, I think it's easier, and I have a hard time having in my personal life. I will say I'm non-confrontational. And Asians are stereotypical. Sorry, I'm laughing at myself. We are stereotypically passive-aggressive.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
I think I've heard that before,
absolutely.
Actually.
So we're always like very not like, oh, come in, have some tea and eat some food, and then, but oh yeah.
Yeah. Here, have this cookie.
I'll come back around.
But should you be eating that cookie? Kind of passive aggressiveness. Yeah, I've heard that.
But I think because of what I do, and I'm really sort of behind the scenes. This is why today is a little bit difficult for me to be in front of the camera. Because I'm always back there whispering in your ear and saying, chef, say this. Next time, okay, that was fun what you said.
Right.
These are some of the difficult conversations, right? I'll say, that's okay that you said that, but what you might think about saying is this.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we talk a lot about barbecue.
Yep.
And how barbecue is, in the South, barbecue is, when you say barbecue to a consumer, they think pulled pork, mac and cheese. Like they think about the things that are on the menu.
Right.
But Pink's is way different. This is what sets you apart. This is your differentiator.
Yep.
Is that for Pink's, barbecue is the way that you prepare your food. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And you're working with the oldest form of cooking. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. Is open flame, open fire. And I'm learning so much from you about that. That's so interesting. That's awesome. But way beyond barbecue. It's way beyond. Because honestly, when Pink's Barbecue is a great name. There's a story behind the name, which we're telling that more and more. Yeah. Right? But when you say Pink's Barbecue, you're like, oh, it's just another. I mean, everyone's got a barbecue. Yeah. Roy, John, Billy, Bob, Susie. They all have a barbecue. Everybody got a daggone barbecue. I mean, especially in the South. Yeah. Absolutely. So, but Pink's is different. Yeah. And we're starting to tell that story more and more. And y'all going to be hearing lots more about that. Stay tuned. Yeah. So it's not, I like having those conversations. Yeah. Actually, because it's my responsibility. So I always hate having the conversation, but I always love the results. Because 9 times out of 10, if you can navigate that conversation, you always end up in a better place or with a better foot. What you say matters. How you say it matters. Yeah. It really does. And sometimes when too, timing. Yes. It all matters. Absolutely. Talk about this, because a lot of times when I'm talking to people about entrepreneurship on this channel, one of my favorite questions to ask, and I'm going to ask you now, is talk about the cost of being your own boss. The cost as far as finances, the cost as far as sacrifice and time. Talk about mess ups. I'm sure you haven't been perfect every single day for your 30-day career. Can you talk about that, the bad days and bad times and stuff? Yeah. So I mean, financing with everything, and it's hard to raise the capital to run your business is really hard, and for the most part, I'm a one-woman show, and a lot of that is based on money. Yeah. Quite honestly, I don't have, I don't have the, and the bigger clients doesn't always equate to bigger budgets. Right. Right. So that's how you define it and how you interpret it. Mm-hmm. I think, I represent a lot of small business owners, so they're smaller companies with smaller budgets, but I think the assets they have are in many ways a lot richer than a bigger company. Right. Perhaps. I could see that. From a PR perspective, because public relations is a lot about telling stories. Right. Right. Yeah. So it's a reality. Yeah. So it's a lot of, and I should have that same quote under my signature line. Yeah. I'm very much about blood and sweat and tears. So that's really how I've financed my business, is through my time. Yeah. And my experience but I'm very proud of the fact that I give a lot of my time to my clients. Yeah. I work. She does. Even before they're clients. I do work with, I usually have an intern every year to a semester from Oglethorpe Universities, and they've been great. Okay. Great partner. And then I've kind of learned over the years, it's hard to sustain a part-time person for me. Right. Because I just can't, I can't pay them enough. Right. Right. And they're usually young, and they're going to go on and they're going to move on. But I've had some really great experiences with that. I'm not, but they're not going to stick around. Right. And then otherwise I'll partner with somebody who's on the same level as I am. That's the best. So you kind of get, you get a true collaboration kind of deal. Yeah, that's ideal. Gotcha. That's ideal. So, okay. So what I'm taking from what you said and what I want you guys to take away from this, you've heard us now over the history of the channel, talk to a few different people, and
Nancy just confirmed what everybody else has said. And this is for the person at home right now wondering whether or not they can do it or wondering how they're going to keep doing it. It kind of is par for the course, y'all. Like, when you make your mind up and you don't have the inheritance and you don't have the hookups and all of that, all you have is your blood, sweat, and tears. That's what it takes 9 times out of 10 to get your thing up and off. So if it's not feeling good or it's scary, that's, in my experience, kind of a good indication that you're kind of on the right track. Mm-hmm. You know, I've been doing this for some years now. Nancy's been doing it for some years, and we can both tell you, Nancy just told you, it still is a grind. Quite honestly, I don't know when that grind is going to stop. But I do know as long as we keep pursuing and keep aligning ourselves with the right people and the right relationships and circumstances and work on things like our brand story and our public perception and our marketing, it will feel less abrasive. Not that it's going to stop rubbing, but it will feel, you'll get some powder and some lotion, it'll feel less abrasive, you know? Nancy, if you can pick a couple bullet points, I won't put a number on it, but if you're talking to the entrepreneurial student or the single mom or single dad who are about to have to just make it happen, mm-hmm. or the person starting over again for whatever reason, what would you tell them about their public perception and their brand story? What are the things they should keep in mind as they continue to pursue their dream or start to go after?
Yep. So again, you know, perception is reality, number one. So that means that it is important, like I said earlier, you know, what you say, how you say it, when you say it is definitely important. How you present yourself is important. You know, people have short attention spans, so whoever you're in front of pitching, they're going to make a judgment about you the minute you walk in the door. There's some statistic about, you know, when somebody walks in the door, people already have decided whether or not they're going to hire you, whether or not they're going to do business with you, just based on what they see when you walk through the door or what they see when you sit down across from them. So you got that going right there. So, but I feel like you've got another chance then, and that's a lot in your verbal presentation, what you have to say, if you have some slides to show, what are on the slides, your brand, how your brand is represented, how your brand speaks, how you've prepared for that meeting so that your brand is speaking specifically to what is on that agenda, right? So Pink's Barbecue can speak to a lot of things.
A lot of things.
But you always have to remember who you're speaking to, right? Because people don't want to hear everything about Pink's. Right? They just want to hear what they're there for.
Or they don't want to hear it all today.
Right, exactly.
That too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's definitely important, and I think it's a priority. I would encourage you to make it a priority because everything's important, right?
Right.
And I would, you know, first and foremost, just go for it. I think, you know, doing your own thing, whether you want to use the fancy word entrepreneur. Is that French, by the way? Entrepreneur.
I can see how we could get there.
I just like to say, just do your own thing.
Yeah.
It's much easier than entrepreneur.
Right.
But definitely, you know, go for it. Go for it. Do it. If you have always had this dream of doing whatever, you're not going to give up on it, and it's going to, for the rest of your life, if you don't just try it and do it,
right,
you know, you're going to leave this earth going, I should have done that. And, you know, I think between my personal life and my professional life, I mean, it's been tough. I'm a single mom. I know I have single mom vibes. But, you know, but I would do it all over again. Now I'm hungry. Can we eat? Can we go eat?
Soon. Listen, Nancy.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, hug. Are you a hugger?
I think this is my first on-camera hug.
I'm just upset I'm not your first guest. Who else has been on the show?
Not many.
We'll talk about later.
Not many. You're my first Asian person on the show.
Wow.
Hey! Y'all, listen, Nancy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Nancy Tao, Tao Communications, spent the afternoon with us a little bit. Y'all, you know we are here always and forever to educate you, excite you, empower you into the future that you want for your life and your business. I hope today was a blessing for you. It was for me for sure. Until next time, guys, please, please, please remember to like, subscribe, do all the things that help us keep bringing you this content. Also, remember John and Chuck, Last Night's Coffee on all streaming platforms. Awesome, awesome podcast, my homies. Until then, we are gone.